In this video, we're going to talk about the challenges and enjoyment I had learning how to play the Deck of Destiny. So let's get into this. Welcome to Solitary RPG. We're going to take a look at the Deck of Destiny. This is a solo adventure game that I saw advertised on one of the Facebook groups that I belong to. I picked up the PDF on DriveThruRPG. I'll put a link in the description below. I was impressed by what the authors had created, and I really liked the art, so I printed my copy out and did one of my simple book bindings because the art can be used for inspiration when you're playing the game, and it's just really cool art, and I just really liked it. So I printed mine out. So what exactly is the Deck of Destiny? This has 4 separate adventures in it. Each adventure is broken down to 2 parts. You're going to have the first part, which you're just going to do some adventuring. Then you're going to conclude the first part. Then you're going to move on to the second part where you're basically going to face a boss monster. And this game is completely card driven. So you're going to use a standard deck of cards with the jokers included. You're going to use cards to create your character's attributes. You're going to use cards for your adventures, and the jokers add kind of a special conflict to your game, which is really cool. You're going to use cards for overcoming obstacles, and you're going to use cards for combat. So it is completely card driven. There are no dice in this game. I did have some challenges though, understanding the rules, and I don't know if I'm playing the game correctly, but I'm still having fun playing the game. It's going to start with an introduction that you can just read. Then it's going to give you a really broad brushstroke of how to play the game, talking about the 2 parts, talking about how each day of your adventure, you're going to draw 3 cards. You're going to overcome those obstacles. That will conclude your day. You'll move on to your next day. It's got some advanced rules here. It suggests that maybe you don't use the advanced rules right away, kind of get used to the mechanics, and then you introduce the advanced rules. There's not much to understand, and I think the advanced rules add quite a bit to the game. There are 2 modes for playing. There's the quick playthrough, where you just sit down and you just kind of play through the adventure in one game session. Or you can do the journaling aspect of this game, where each day of your journey is an actual day in your life. At the beginning of your day, you'll draw the 3 cards for your adventure prompts for that day. You'll read your adventure prompts. You'll kind of think about them throughout the day and try to tie that all together into a story about how you're traveling from one prompt to the next and giving more detail to those prompts as your day goes on, and you just write it in your journal. Really great way if you want to improve your creative writing skills or if you just like playing journaling games. So let's talk about the card values. The cards with number values are just the numbers. So a 2 is a 2 and a 10 is a 10. Face cards and aces count as 10 when deciding your journey time and your character attributes. So let's talk about journey time. Each adventure, like I said earlier, is broken down into 2 parts. For your first part, you're going to draw a card. That's the number of days it's going to take you to complete this first part of the journey. So for the Great Dust Storm Exodus, you were trying to get to a way station. It's going to take us 4 days to get to that way station. We will take our character sheet. You have a journey time tracker. You'll just count out 4 boxes, draw a line to represent taking 4 days to get to your way station. And then when you're done with your card, you put it at the bottom of the stack. And that is how you track your time for the journey. For your character's attributes, you have 4 attributes: strength, dexterity, intelligence, and defense. So when you're creating your character and you're drawing your cards, the face cards will be worth 10, and any of your other numbered cards will just be whatever their numbers are. Strength is used for combat. Dexterity is used for keeping upright and not falling over. Intelligence is used for figuring things out, and defense is the value the encounters have to go over to cause hit point damage to you. So that's how face cards and aces are used during figuring out your journey time and your character attributes. The face cards during actions, though, so if you're in combat, or if you're making like a dexterity check or an intelligence check, your face cards are worth their numerical values. So a jack is an 11, a queen is a 12, and a king is a 13. The aces, however, those have a special rule in the game that we will talk about later on in the video. And also jokers. If during character creation you draw a joker, it has a value of 1. And that's something you just need to keep in mind. That probably should have been put over here for the card values for character creation, but it's the very last thing they wrote about. Character creation is really straightforward. You're going to draw 5 cards to determine your character's attributes. You're going to drop the lowest card, and then you just assign the value of the cards to your character's attributes. They do have this kind of ruthless mode where you'll assign hearts to your strength, diamonds to dexterity, clubs to intelligence, and spades to defense. This ruthless part isn't really explained 100% well, so let's create a character, and I'll explain why I said that. So we got our deck of cards. We're going to draw them out. We got the 9 of hearts, the 4 of diamonds, the 9 of clubs, the queen of hearts, and the 5 of diamonds. So the 4 of diamonds is the lowest card, so we're going to remove that. And if we were just doing standard character creation, we would just assign these values to our character's attributes. So I would assign the queen, which is a face card, which has a value of 10 to defense. I'd give my strength a 9 for the 9 of hearts, my dexterity a 9 for the 9 of clubs, and my intelligence a 5 for the 5 of diamonds. However, if we were doing the ruthless mode, we don't have a spades on the board. So would we continue drawing cards until we got a spades for that last attribute? Because if it was a 0, you're pretty much going to lose any challenges you're going to be faced with that. So would you just continue drawing until you got a spades, and then remove one of the cards you had duplicates of, maybe the 9 of hearts, and replace that with the 10 of spades? I don't know. It's not really clear. And as you just saw, I had to pull a lot of cards before I got a spades. So I'm not sure. So I've just been playing with the standard mode and just deciding where my attributes go on my character sheet. We're going to create our character. It's going to take 2 seconds here. We're going to put down our HP. You always start with 20, and then you just assign your values to where you feel they will suit you the best. Now, I'll say after playing this game a few times, you're going to use all your attributes. There is no one attribute that you don't use in this game. So the rest of these cards now just go on the bottom of your deck of cards. And then you can start playing the game. How do you resolve actions in this game? To give you a great example here, a player with strength 5 wants to lift a heavy object with difficulty 8. So if you're faced with any kind of an attributes check, you're going to have a difficulty rating. They draw a 3 and succeed. 5 plus 3 equals 8. Pretty simple stuff there. So let's find an example in the game and let's resolve it. Let's use the 9 of diamonds. I'll read the prompt to you and then we'll resolve the attributes check. You approach an area of the desert that seems wrong. Maybe it's the color. Maybe it's the way the sand doesn't stir in the ever-present winds. One of your fellow travelers warns that this is a sand trap. I'm going to stop right there because this idea of fellow travelers is a solo RPG. Why do we have fellow travelers? That is one of the special rules for this particular adventure. You have survivors. Start the game with 20 refugees. Every failed attack or unsuccessful check, lose a refugee. If everyone dies, deal with the remorse of a tribe wiped out under your poor leadership. So this is just one of the special rules. That's how you have fellow travelers. They have no mechanic in the game other than tracking the 20 of them. The path around seems impossibly long, a few days at least. You will have to scout the area and find a safe path for your group. You could bypass the hazards and add 2 days to your journey time, or you can consider one of the following options. So if we want to bypass this, what we would do is we would increase our number of days traveled by 2, so we would have 6 days to make it to the way station. Or we can make an attributes check. We can do an intelligence check of 17, and then there's some flavor text if you succeed. We can make a strength check of 19, or we can make a dexterity check of 16. And if we look at our attributes, where are we going to be best suited for this? I'm thinking it's probably going to be a strength check or a dexterity check. And I'm going to go with dexterity because it's a 16 and I have a 9 in dexterity. So I just need to draw a 7 or better. So we draw a card. I drew a queen, which now we're in gameplay, so she has a value of 12. We add our dexterity, which is 9, which is going to take me to 21. So we beat the target number of 16, so we succeeded. Make a dex check of 16 to keep your balance as you carefully weave your way through the trap. So we succeeded at that. Now, if we would have failed, a failed check will add 1 day to your journey and permanently reduce your used attribute by -1. So if we would have failed, we would have reduced our dex down to 8, and we would have added a day to our journey. So that's how you make attributes checks for anything that might come up with your story prompts. Combat, a little bit different. So let me read the rule for combat here. Heroes will always attack first unless stated. To attack, the player draws a card and adds their strength attribute. If the attacker's total exceeds the defense of the opponent, the difference is deducted from the character's HP. Skills and magic abilities can be discovered throughout the adventure, and their instructions are detailed when found. That seems pretty straightforward. I draw a card, I add my strength attribute. If the total exceeds the defense value of the encounter, the difference from their defense value from what I drew is minus from their HP. Pretty straightforward. So let's go look at an encounter. And we're going to go to the 10 of clubs here. This is a bandit. There's no strength attribute for the encounters. We have a hit attribute of +1, defense 9, a damage attribute of +2, HP 14. There's no special rules for the bandits. Some of the encounters will have special rules when you encounter them. So I'm not quite sure how encounters attack back. And the way I've been interpreting the rules is you just take this hit modifier and add it to the card value. So we drew a 10, +1 would make it 11. They went over my defense value of 10, and they just do 2 points of damage. They don't do the difference between the defense and the number drawn. They just have a pre-programmed amount of damage. And that's basically how I've been interpreting the combat for the game. I'm not sure if it's correct, but I don't know how else to do it because there's nothing in the rules that explain it. Because in the combat rules, it's talking about your strength modifier being added and beating the defense, but the encounters don't have a strength attribute to pull from. So that's how I've been handling combat. And the other part of combat that's not clear is dealing with aces. So we talked a little bit about aces when determining your journey time and your character's attributes. Aces aren't listed under the face value of the cards. There's actually a special rule for aces. If you draw an ace, keep this in your inventory and use it at any point to avoid an encounter. The ace must then be discarded entirely from the deck. That part of the rule makes sense. It's this second part that isn't really clear to me. An ace has a value of 10 in combat and shortens your day if drawn as an encounter. So every day you're going to draw 3 cards and you're going to log their value and you're going to resolve each one of these in order. So you could look at this, that this is morning, this is afternoon, and this is evening. And that is how your days are done. And this rule talks about shortening your days. So the way I've been interpreting this rule is if an encounter during combat draws an ace, it's a 10 for the value of the card, and we would continue on with combat, but then it shortens the day. So if I draw the card, the ace, on the first or second part of my day, then this last part is just cut off, and then it shortens the day, shortens the adventure, so it gives me a little bit of a benefit. That's how I've been interpreting the rule. I don't know if that's correct or not, and I don't know if I can use my aces during combat as a 10, and then after I'm done with the combat, just put it back into the deck. So I'm not really clear on how that works, but that is how I've been playing it. It seems to be working for me. And that's all the rules they basically have. There's a little bit about recovery. Basically, at the end of each day, you draw a card and you recover half of the card's value rounded up. So this would recover 2 HP. So let's go through one day worth of adventure. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this first part. We've already drew our card for the number of days for our journey. So what we need to do is draw our 3 cards for that day. We got the 9 of spades, the jack of clubs, and the 5 of clubs. So we just kind of write those on our character sheet. King of clubs and the 5 of clubs. What we're going to do first is resolve the 9 of spades. So what's really good about the way they laid this book out is each of the adventures have the title of the adventure at the top, and then a symbol for the suits on this page. So this is my hearts, diamonds, diamonds continued, and then we get into the spades and we have the 9 of spades. We just read this prompt just like a choose your own adventure book. A deranged wanderer warns the party of impending sandstorms that could bury their path if they do not take precautions. It's hard to take the wanderer seriously. He talks about living sand creatures. Nothing like that exists, right? Just in case, you now have advantage on any checks against sand and elemental creatures. So that's all this is just a little interaction with some deranged wanderer talking about living sand creatures. But now we have advantage on checks against sand elemental creatures, and there's nothing in the rules about advantage. However, we're experienced role players. We understand that advantage means we're going to pull 2 cards, take the best card, and that's what's going to happen. And we just need to make a note about this on our character sheet. So I just made a note, advantage, sand, elemental creatures, and then we move on. So the next card in our day would be the King of Clubs. If you were playing the journaling mode, you could actually spend some time writing about this, maybe describe this deranged wanderer, maybe a little bit more interaction here with them, and you just kind of really get into the creative side of writing. But we're just going with the quick plays, so we need to find the King of Clubs. So we're going to read the encounter. A group of sun-ravaged bandits attempt to ambush you and your party, seeking to loot your supplies and equipment. The refugees cower behind you as they attack. So this is going to be pretty simple. We're going to have a bandit attack going on, but there's additional text here. If you investigated the destroyed caravan, you are alert and attack first. Otherwise, you are surprised and start combat second. And this text would have only comes into play if earlier we discovered the 3 of hearts and that was part of our story, but we did not, so that does not exist. So we are basically going to be attacked first. The only problem with this is it doesn't tell me how many bandits are in the group. So am I just fighting one bandit or am I fighting multiple bandits? It's not real clear. There was another adventure prompt that was similar to this, but it actually gave a little bit more detail, and that would be, I believe it was the 10 of clubs. Yeah, here. This one says that basically a caravan of traders approach. So there's a driver with a wagon. They want to trade with you. You go around the back, and 3 more bandits jump out. So you're actually given a number of 4 encounters, and it actually talks about it further in the little section here. If you discovered the portal, you know this is a trap, and attack immediately, killing the driver and reducing their numbers. Make a strength check of 15 to scare them off. So here it's kind of giving you a number of bandits that you're going to encounter, but here it does not. So you're going to have to decide how you're going to handle this. I'm just going to say it's 1 bandit and we're going to fight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a note that the bandit has 14 HP so I can keep track of their HP on my character sheets. The bandits go first, I go second. They drew a 9 of diamonds, plus 1's going to put them at 10. That meets my defense. It does not go over my defense. However, going over the defense only is for the playing characters, not for the encounters as far as I can tell. So they're going to do 2 points of damage. So I put a -2. And now it would be my turn to go. I draw an 8 plus my 9, which is 17. They have a defense of 9, so I do 8 points of damage to them, taking them down to 6. So I hit them pretty hard there. That was a good pull for me. Now they pull an ace. So this is going to be considered a 10, plus the 1 is going to be 11. So they beat my defense, and they'll do another 2 points of damage to me. So I've lost 4 points. And now we have to decide, does this shorten our day? And this is where that rule for aces is a little unclear. If it shortens our day, does it mean after this combat, we do not resolve the 5 of clubs? This ends the day, and we just check it off our journey tracker. And that's kind of how I'm playing it, so that's what we're going to go with. And then it's my turn. I draw a king, which is going to be 13, plus the 9 is going to put me at 22, which is going to kill the bandits. They're dead. They're done for. So what we would do is that will conclude our day. We just check off the box on our journey timer, and we still have 3 more days to go. So we would just continue with the 3 more days, and as we check these all off our tracker, we complete the first part of our journey. And then we come back to the adventure. We would read the second part. So we made it to the way station. Here at the way station, we are going to get some bonuses. We're going to add 5 to our max HP. It's not adding 5 to our HP, it's just adding 5 to our max. So that would take us up to 25 for our max. So we can recover up to 25 HP now. And then we're going to draw a card. If it's a red card, we're going to add +1 to strength or dex. And if it's a black card, we're going to add a +1 to intelligence or defense. And I would probably add it to defense right there, making that an 11. All these cards go back down to the bottom of the deck, and that's basically what we would do. We would read through this, we would go through, this is going to get us 3 more days of an adventure, and then we would face the big boss encounter, and they are listed in the back. You draw a card, it's a black card, so this would be if you drew a red card. This would be if you drew a black card. You would read through it and just go through all of the information that's listed. And I don't want to spoil the boss encounters for you. That would be something for you to discover. So that was a look at the Deck of Destiny. It's a great game. I like how it's designed using the cards for creating the adventure. A little bit like a choose your own adventure, but it's not going to repeat itself because you're never going to draw the same cards twice. So it's always going to be a little bit different, giving this game a lot of replayability. Easy game to just play on the go. All you need is a deck of cards. There's tons of card apps out there that you could use on your phone. So if you're playing on a trip or something like that, it'd work out just fine. I'm not 100% sure about the rules. Hopefully, the authors will get feedback and maybe update the PDF to give more clarification on these rules, and that way we can be playing as they intended for us to play, so we just have a better understanding of how everything works. But all in all, I think it's just a fun game. I'll put a link in the description below if you want to check out the PDF on DriveThru RPG. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.